Hey, what's up, comic people? It's Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and I am joined by the Wizard of WhatNot, Skeff from Skeff's Comic Knowledge.
Hello.
So you guys asked for it, you demanded it, and we finally decided to deliver. This is two beards, one comic coming in for everybody.
Why did you ask for this? This is a terrible idea.
I say give them what they want. We decided to tackle a topic that is pretty much at the forefront of the comic collecting community these days, and that is the platform WhatNot.
It's a fascinating concept.
You know, not everybody in the community is familiar with WhatNot. I know some people still aren't on it and they aren't really sure what's going on. Skeff, can you tell us a little bit about WhatNot?
Absolutely. So WhatNot is a platform where you can buy and sell live. And there are certain products, not comics yet, where there's a marketplace where you can go in, search, send in offers, buy items, sports cards, things like that. No comics yet, but sports cards, Funko Pops, Pokemon cards. But WhatNot primarily is a live-based selling platform where you set up an account, you bid live on the items you see right in front of you.
Nice. So a little bit like eBay meets kind of those YouTube live auctions you see.
It is, but so much easier. You ever see those live auctions where then the live person has to like track you down and find you, or like your username doesn't match the actual like Instagram name? Then you're like, are you sure you bought this? And they're like, no, I'm not positive. Then you have to like figure out, did they buy this or not? With WhatNot, the funds just get frozen. And then once you ship the item and they receive it, you get paid. Everyone gets exactly what they're asking for.
Yeah, it does seem pretty seamless. That's one of the things I enjoyed about it. It's easy on the buying side. And from what I understand, it's pretty easy on the selling side. I haven't done that myself yet. So that's something that we are going to talk about a little bit as well.
Fantastic.
So, you know, basically one of the stars of the kind of WhatNot comic scene is in the house here with Skeff.
Lies. I paid him to say that. I paid him to say that.
You are a humble man, sir, but at the same time, that is 100% true. Anybody I talk to that's on the WhatNot scene always brings up your name, and your streams are absolutely exciting to be in. I've joined a bunch of them, and they're a lot of fun. But I have to ask you, at what point did you realize that this was going to be a big thing for you? Was that kind of right away, or did it take a while?
It was weird. It was both. It's a weird question because it's both. So it happened right away because the very first WhatNot sale I did was back in June, and I went on like a Friday night, which I don't do anymore because there's so many sellers Friday night.
Right.
Back then it wasn't as crazy, but there was a big promotional push, like Skeff going on live Friday. And I just had got in like a batch of like 25 fire slabs.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up selling 20 of the slabs that night. And I think total sold for my first show was like $5,000.
Wow.
And it's one of the things where like I didn't believe it, right? Like I felt like, oh, it's a fluke. And we had a bunch of people watching. And then it's one of the things like, and then I started doing more shows and none of them were to those expectations again. So I'm like, but they were consistent enough where I'm like, all right, this is really cool. And then New York Comic Con rolled around and it changed the game. That's when I was like, this is for real. This is like a real thing and people are thoroughly having a good time with it. And that's when it just kind of like, I sat down and just watched this magistry that WhatNot put on at New York Comic Con because so many people had put out, and just the attention at the booth, the people that had so much positive thing to say, and like I got to meet some artists and writers like who hopped on the line. Like it was just and like New York Comic Con made it real for me. Where I'm just like, all right, I'm in. Shut up, take my money. I'm in. What do you need? WhatNot?
Oh, that is awesome to hear, man. So I just gotta be honest, man. The softball questions are over. We got to get to some hard hitting news here.
No, wait. You said there would be no. My publicist told me they said it would be all easy ones.
Well, if I don't ask this, I'm gonna have people rioting in the comment section.
All right, let's do it. Let me put my hard hat on and let's get ready.
There we go. You got it on. All right. What are some of your best beard care tips?
Oh, let's go. I love this. So, best beard care tips. 1, you got to grow a beard. This is pretty useless if you don't have one. So if you don't have a beard,
I got to take some notes here. Hold on.
Right. 1, have beard.
Okay.
Step 2, make sure this is like, I don't have any plants that I take care of. This is like a house plant to me. You have to like take care of it. You got to make sure it gets the proper hydration. And so in essence, for me, it's always like I always blow dry or I have a hot comb. So
Yep,
blow dry, hot comb are the two that I use to keep it maintained. Also beard oil and a actual beard wash. There's an actual like beard wash you get that you like lather it up, leave it in for like 20-30 minutes, and then rinse it out. Then after that, then you apply the beard oil and then maybe a little bit of mousse if you want to keep shape. But the blow dryer and the hot comb, oh man, that is tame this wild beast.
Man, I love it. The houseplant analogy, I really like that. That's a good one, dude. No, seriously, I dig that, because a lot of guys, I think they just start growing and then they forget, like, hey, you got to maintain this thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion, more than the top of your head hair.
Because this you can just put a hat. I can't put a hat here. The hat can go here, because this inside of this hat right now, hot mess. This though, I got this prepped last night. I'm wearing the black shirt so you can't see it, but I had this like prepped last night, combed it out, I'm like not touching it till tomorrow.
As the kids would say, it's on fleek.
It right? They still say fleek, right? That's still
well, those kids are like 40 now, but still.
Oh man. I'm in trouble.
So yeah, no, the beard care tips, I just knew it's something somebody's gonna ask in the comments. So I wanted to take care of all my brothers down there that are curious about how to do that. Yeah, all the oils, all the essential oils, almond oil, argan oil, all that stuff is really good to get in there.
It is.
Take care of it. Keep that skin taken care of under. That's the really important part I've learned.
Because people say it always gets itchy. Well, the reason that you use beard oil, it's not for the actual follicle, it's for the skin on the inside. That's why I actually use beard oil to keep the skin hydrated as it grows out. So like people are like putting beard oil here, like no, you got to get that closer to the skin. So. Yeah,
and I guess the only other thing I would add to that is, because you know I think it's easy to think of us that have kind of been doing it for a year or more, but if you're starting out, don't give up if you really want to do it, because you're going to feel really weird for a while, like a few months, easy.
There is an awkward phase that some people go through. I, on the other hand, looked good the entire time. So I don't know how about you guys, but it looked good at every stage of growth. It's looked good. So I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but I got lucky. Maybe it's my big bulbousy head. I got a big head, so maybe that helped balance it out.
Man, yeah, this is a balancing act right here for sure. Same deal.
Keep that head symmetrical. The key.
And speaking of keys, a great place to get keys is over on WhatNot.
Yes. There are lots of them out there.
That's true. And I think a lot of sellers that are going to be looking for success on that platform are curious, as somebody who has been at least somewhat successful on WhatNot, if not very successful. I'll feed the humbleness a little bit here. What kind of tips would you have for those thinking about
Go away! Go away! Oh shit! I ruined that one. Ruined it. All right, we'll do it live. I apologize. All right, we can edit all that out. Unless that's God damn it, that was so funny. All right, back to the keys.
And as a lot of sellers are looking to get started on this platform and kind of take advantage of this kind of emerging marketplace, I know a lot of them are looking for tips from somebody who's had some success on WhatNot. And that brings me right back to you, Skeff. What kind of tips do you have for people that are going to get started on the WhatNot platform as a seller?
So it is a fascinating concept, what WhatNot is and what it's done to the buying and selling of comics. And now, granted, this is just me. This is just my opinion and what I have done and what I've seen become successful. But this is just how I feel it, and I feel comfortable with it, is that I try to maintain a level of energy the entire show with some music in the background, because this is a live, you're interacting with people spontaneously. And so to keep them engaged is, I think, the most important thing. There's too many shows that I see where someone's just like, and not even my face, let's say it's like background, like, all right, we got what is this? The Justice League Incarnate 2. I don't know who did it. There we go. Like, there's sometimes, like, you gotta have a level of, it's crazy. At least I feel you have to have a level of showmanship. You're bringing you're bringing not only a product, but you're bringing, I just damaged that book. You're bringing like, not just the comic products, but you're bringing yourself as part of that product as well. You know, people I feel tune in to come hang out with me. There's a lot of people I know that are hanging out. They're not buying anything. And I love that they're just there to hang out. And I feel that in order to find success is you have to stay consistent and you have to bring some sort of entertainment factor to your show. And I think that really helps because you're put on a show, you're put on a live show. How can you make it engaging, right? Keep that audience there. And I have found success in just being an insane human with like just trying to do giveaways and bring in some hot books and energy, entertainment, some music in the background, and just trying to make it a thing you don't want to miss, right?
Absolutely. That's a really good point when it comes to any kind of live event. Why do people want to be there? You know, why do people not want to tune into a different stream or whatever?
Right.
And yeah, that not wanting to miss it, that's a totally good way to describe it. And that's how I feel when I watch your streams. It's like you do want to keep watching because you're like, what's going to happen next? You know, like
right.
And yeah, you're talking, it's consistent in tone. And I think even, you know, as a buyer who kind of sits back on streams, I think even if you have a little bit of a lower energy, it's okay as long as you are consistent in that tone.
Yes.
You know, again, you want to seem, if not aggressive or excited or whatever you do, at least want to seem assertive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Regardless of tone, that doesn't matter. Me, I feel comfortable, like you can't even see it. But it's all about that engagement. You could stay same level the whole time, just be engaging. Understand what you have. You know what I mean? Understand what books you have, understand the comps, why are you selling it, who is it? The more information, the better, because the trick is this is a whole different level of trust. Never in my wildest dreams would I think like I'd be buying books via like a phone. Because the trick is you have to trust that someone's going to go over in detail like, hey, here's the spine, you know, are there any defects? Like there's a whole level of a trust you have to establish when you're buying, you know, virtually.
No, that really makes sense. And that kind of, you know, leads us perfectly into the next topic I want to talk about. When it does come to the buying side, this is kind of where I've had the more experience. I've been checking out the platform over the last month and a half, a little bit more seriously.
And thank you for buying that Batman Dam for me. I appreciate that, mate.
Hey, thanks for selling that Batman Dam to me in the middle of a Star Wars show. I tuned in and I was like, oh, this is my favorite Star Wars character is Batman. That's amazing.
Got a great deal on it too. But things like that, right? You just never know. And that's what tries to make it fun, right? Where like you're just kind of sitting back, you're like, all right, oh, what is this? What is this that I need to bid on now?
Yeah. No, that was really fun, and that was one of those experiences too, where maybe it was because it was in the middle of a Star Wars show, but I did end up getting a good deal on it. Thanks very much for that, by the way, and you packed it very well and shipped it out in a timely fashion, which I appreciate. But when you are on that buying side, or maybe even as primarily, I imagine as a seller, is there anything that you're looking for from buyers? Is there any tips you have for the buyers out there?
Yes. So I immediately leave a show if there's no descriptions, unless I know who the seller is. Like if someone just has a list of books and everything just says comic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like unless it's like a mystery bag where you don't need to play something like I've done, but people that like just and they're just throwing up random stuff, I have no interest in staying and sticking around. I just don't. I mean, some people love that. Some people love the surprise about it because they're like, you don't know what's going to pop up. True. But I don't know about you guys. I'm a busy man. I don't got time to just sit around and wait. So unless I see something really cool, unless I see something really cool in your previews are very important to show people what you have coming forward. So unless you have something really cool in the preview that I can hop in and request it, and you have nothing listed, I think listing the books you're selling, it takes time, but it will pay off. And I think that's the most important thing.
No, that's a really good point, actually, because there's actually a lot of reasons why it's good to have the description of those items. One is, you know, it's like that perception thing like you're talking about. Like if I hop in and I see that, I assume they're just going to pull whatever out, and that's comic lot 39 or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
You're like, all right, next up on the docket, we're going to have a copy of, what is this? I don't know. Blackbird #1. All right, $1, 1 minute. And then everyone's just staring at this book because no one wants to bid. I mean, beautiful Jen Bartel cover, but I mean, no one's going to bid on. You know what I mean? It's one of the things where like, you got to put some work in, and you'll see that come out at the very end.
Well, it's also going to lead to confusion too once they've made their purchase, because what they're going to see on their shipping report is comic lot 39. And if you bought a couple comics that night, you might be like, what was that?
Pro tip: screenshot everything you buy off Whatnot if there's no description.
That is a good tip. I like that.
Pro tip: screenshot everything you buy off Whatnot if there's no description. And especially if there is a giveaway. If there's a giveaway that you won, which I have not won yet. Pro tip, though, screenshot everything. And it's not that you can't trust them. It's for your... Because I went on a buying spree one time where I'm like, what did I buy? I don't even remember what I buy. I get a package and I'm just like, well, I hope this is everything. So it's for yourself to keep track of records. Because you would like to know what you paid for and what it's worth, and see the condition when you get it back. So pro tip is if you buy anything that has no description, screenshot, and then you're set.
Nice. I like that. And then I kind of wanted to bring a tip, but I haven't sold yet, so that's going to be a new thing for me that we'll kind of explore as I get into it. But as a buyer, I did have kind of one tip for everybody. If you watch my channel at all, that I'm big on kind of trying to reduce the FOMO a little bit, kind of trying to keep everybody in chat.
Wait, you're telling me you didn't buy any copies of Black Panther #3?
I did for cover price. And that's the thing, right? Like, I think people, I try to cool down when people are looking at higher than FMV prices for something. That's where I get a little hesitant. And that does happen on Whatnot. It's something that people, but then again, a lot of books also go for a lot less than FMV on Whatnot as well. So it is balanced. But as a buyer, I think you need to protect yourself a little bit. And I think you do need to kind of, watch yourself if you're bidding on something that you're not sure what it is, and maybe the person's hyping it up a little bit, and MCU spec comes into play and you're just like, well, that's got to be a good book. Maybe kind of educate yourself, and I would always kind of caution holding off on bidding if you're really unsure and you have any questions in your mind, if you're going to feel any regret about buying that book later on, because what are you going to do with that book? Unless you're selling yourself on Whatnot as well, you're probably going to hold on to it for a long time if it's a book you don't really want.
Unless you have a platform to move it, then yeah.
Exactly. And another tip, some people are going to hate me for saying this, but maybe have an eBay sold listings kind of up to kind of gauge yourself. If
That's
it's a
not
really
a bad thing at all.
Yeah. If it's a really high condition copy, keep that in mind. If you are looking at some lower condition copy sold on eBay, maybe it's worth, especially if you're already getting some items shipped from that seller. I'll go a little bit above FMV because I'm like, well, I know it's a high condition. I trust the seller, and I'm only paying an extra $1 because I already bought something from them for shipping. So that's kind of one of the other convenient things about Whatnot is the shipping kind of all adds up in a buyer friendly way too.
And a seller friendly way too, mate. I don't pay any. You don't, as a seller, you don't pay any shipping.
Yeah, the only way you pay shipping is like what, for giveaways? Yeah, so that's perfect. So really, all the bidding all kind of needs to take that into account. That's another tip as a buyer too. If you do buy something from a seller and you're seeing some other stuff you like, it's kind of worth it to maybe throw in another book if something's going for pretty cheap, because
it is. Most shows, if I buy something, I'm always looking to buy a second thing. I'm always looking to buy two things. If I buy one thing, I'm just like, all right, give me something else. Like,
yeah, you already made that initial investment. You may as well kind of capitalize on
Correct. That. Especially if it's like a graded book.
100%. 100%. That's where your really savings are going to kind of start kicking in. And you're not hurting the seller either, which is really awesome.
No, it's huge. That's true. So as a seller, I think the most important thing is that you're jumping onto, I don't want to say it's established, because Whatnot's only been around for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then the comic side of things has maybe been around for maybe 9 months, maybe, give or take, maybe a little longer. And the thing to remember is that don't get discouraged if you have a bad sale. Like, my wife still has to remind me when I don't have sales that go so great to just like stay positive. Like, you didn't lose money, you know what I mean? It just, some things happen, and finding a time that works for you and finding a situation that works for you is very important, along with that consistency. Because there are times where people can get discouraged. I know people that got discouraged back in August, September, a couple months into it, and they're just like, yeah, I'm not selling on Whatnot anymore. And I'm like, why? What happened? And they're just like, I only had like 10 people viewing. And I'm like, well, then is there like, why? What time are you going? What did you have? Like, do a little bit more homework, figure out like what was it, and try to figure out why you were only getting 10 viewers. Was it the setup? Was it lighting? What were you bringing? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of the things where like you just can't hop on and just like, you gotta kind of be prepared and make it to try to make it an entertaining show. But maybe not entertaining, I mean, just I think that consistency, but try to bring some good books. Or if you're not going to bring good books, just let people know, like, hey, I'm bringing a bunch of filler. We're on some sudden death auction. Just be like, try to find a niche and don't get discouraged. It will be very challenging at first. There's a lot of sellers that are on here that are much better than myself. And sometimes I even get discouraged still with like when people I show up and we got like maybe like 10, 15 people. I'm like, all right, we're going to power through this and just see what happens.
Actually, I love all that. I'm probably going to actually cut your little spiel there and put that in. I don't want to like try to repeat that because that was really organic. I liked it.
But it's staying the course. You know what I mean? Like, because you're going to be a new seller, right?
Yep.
So it's understanding that like it is about promotion. You got to get out there on the Instagram. You got to get out there on the YouTube. You got to let people know you are selling it, so people know to come hang out. You know,
yeah.
People have a short-term memory. I don't remember most anything. I write down pretty much everything, and so I feel people are the same way. Where like if I have a sale, sure, I'll get everything ready to go, but then like 24 hours, then I'll start posting social medias, Facebook groups, so people know like, oh, this is in less than a day. So they're like, all right, let's build up some anticipation. So.
Nice.
It's all about getting that out there. You know what I mean? Like you're putting in the work, put the work in. If you really want this to be a thing, it isn't just like all this doesn't just happen. You know what I mean? Like all like the viewers and the work and the comments, that just doesn't just happen. There's a lot of work you don't see on the back end.
That's true. Yeah, it's a good idea. I think maybe a lot of sellers that do have some of those struggles kind of just hop in and expect some magic to happen, and it's just not going to do it that way.
It's not going to happen.
So on the seller side, another couple tips, another couple questions that we might have for potential sellers. One is, how about packing? How about shipping? Is there something that important there for sellers to know?
Yes. Make sure you have materials to ship out books. Surprise, surprise. Sometimes like, oh, I don't have any mailers. I don't have any bubble wrap. I don't have enough to ship like more than 5 books. What do I do? And it's one of the
things. So you
things,
grab a padded manila envelope and you send them off, right?
Yep. You just put them in here and then you just send them in there and then it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Just like that. It'll be fine. That's how they get there safely, right? That, it just makes perfect sense. So people need to understand that getting packing supplies for comics, it is pretty simple. You got to get small bubble wrap, right? Get some small bubble wrap. Can be found get a roll of that from Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, a box store. They have them everywhere. So you need some
Amazon.
of that. Amazon. Or if you don't want to use any bubble wrap, fine. Don't use any bubble wrap. But you can at least get yourself some painter's tape. Can be found anywhere. What else you'll need? Oh, you know what? You know who has free boxes? USPS has free boxes. So you can get those sent to your house for free by creating a free account. And that'll help if you have to send more than 5 books because you're going to need a box anyway.
Yep.
So get the free box from USPS. Grab your bubble wrap. I use bubble wrap. Some people don't. Some people will take the comic and then they'll take the comic. They'll put another board here and they'll kind of like tape around like the edges. I'm not a fan of that. I prefer bubble wrap. But like, you know what I mean? Like get bare minimum is painter's tape, Gemini mailers, and free boxes from the USPS store. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
there are other mailers out there besides Gemini, but I think just about everybody in the community understands that that's kind of the gold standard. By the way, if you are looking for some Gemini supplies, I do have a code that'll save you some money in the description below. If you want to set that up.
I don't use that code.
Well, you can use whatever you want, but I'm just saying. No, and I like the bubble wrap too. I'm a big fan of that. I actually do both. I do a sandwich of backing boards with painter's tape, with pull tabs, so nobody has to, think about breaking out the knife or kind of trying to cut anything open. You just all pull it off.
Not needed to open a comic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Open the box, sure, but once you get inside the box, everything should be fine.
Yes.
And then the bubble wrap, I think that's good because it helps protect the corners. If you're not aware, corners are kind of the area that's going to probably receive the most potential damage during a shipment. But if you are using Geminis and you're using good quality materials, you're probably not going to have a problem 99% of the time. And if you do, luckily, WhatNot does cover you for shipping as well.
It's a win, man. It's a win. And also, one thing I'd recommend too is that when you are shipping out the packages, if you feel like it's too thick, like you got it. You know what I mean? Like don't over cram like a mailer with like more books than needed because you're just like you're gonna damage something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just get the proper materials. Make sure everything fits nicely. You want it to be snug without being too compressed, and make sure it doesn't move around.
Exactly.
Oh, good lighting actually.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one. Good lighting, because the trick is if they can't see your books, USOL.
Yep.
Because everything is about visual in this format. You could say literally nothing, but if they can't see anything, we in trouble now. You know what I mean?
100%.
So I think
Yes.
during your setup as a seller, you really need to take like because you really can't go. I mean, you can go live and not sell anything as like a test run, but if you just take your phone, make sure you're on like the Wi-Fi closest to the router, and put it to video, and it'll give you a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And so, you know, tripod, lighting, you know what I mean? Like make it look appealing. Maybe something in the background, you know what I mean? So that is, I feel lighting is very important that I don't think enough people utilize. They try lighting with like, I don't know, with like that. I mean, up right there. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, you need like good lighting so you could see like, all right, hey, Skeff, what do we got here? So I'm just like, all right, can you see it now? And they're like, no, you got to make it brighter. So I'm like, all right, let me turn my light on. And look, there we go. Look, bright light to help see the book, you know?
Yeah, and don't be afraid. I mean, you not necessarily have to do this for every single book, but don't be afraid to take it out of the bag too.
Yes.
Especially, for a brand new modern book, as long as there's no really obvious damage, you kind of show the corners a little bit. That's probably going to be fine. If you're talking about any kind of, a bronze, copper kind of book, anything like that, or anything older, hey, maybe take it out of the bag and show people, here's what the spine looks like. Try to catch a glare on the light to show them any kind of creases that might be on the spine.
Yes. Because the trick is if, as a seller, you're trying to, have someone purchase your item, what is the best, how do I put this? It's like, you want to show your item in the best light, right? So you want to make sure you can show, right? You want to make sure you can show off all the defects. Like, hey, this is what you're buying. So one, the seller, or the buyer, if they get in like, I can't wait. And they're like, oh, but like that and like this. Oh man, and this, and then they get disappointed. You know what I mean? Yeah. So don't try to like just like, oh, hey, here's a book, and then just like place it. Like, hey, I mean, because I think I sold like a Secret Wars #8, like ungraded copy. It wasn't the best shape, but on a big book like that, take it out, show everybody the book. You know what I mean? Like full transparency, and building a foundation of trust is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know one thing that I hear from some people, in fact, one seller I talked to, hey, I don't know how to grade. I'm not a good grader. That's okay, because as long as you can kind of either get in the ballpark, even just saying low, mid, or high is helpful.
And aim
low. I think most
always
of us
aim
can
low.
that.
Yeah.
Always aim low. Yeah, exactly. Don't oversell your book. Don't overpromise. Yeah. And the other side of that is if you can show it, really a picture's worth 1,000 words. So even if you say, I think it's mid-grade, and you show it off, it's going to give an experienced comic buyer the idea of like, hey, are some of those defects pressable? Because even if it's a mid-grade, it might present a lot higher after a press or something. And that's going to be very helpful for a lot of people.
No, that's a huge tip. That's a really good tip, is that people are always, that's one thing I heard too, is like people are afraid to sell on WhatNot because they're afraid of like going live, or like, I don't know how to grade a book. And I'm like, trust me, the people that are buying the books, they know how to grade a book. So just show them everything.
Exactly. Information is key.
It is. Really
and then, so one other thing I wanted to talk about as a potential buyer on WhatNot is the importance of asking questions. And this can go hand in hand with things like grading the comic book and showing all the visuals of the comic book. But as a buyer, something I know that Skeff and I have both talked about in the past is that it's a really good idea to ask questions, because first of all, looking at that chat, there's usually a lot of kind of just so-and-so joined or whatever. Seeing a question there gives us something to talk about as the book is being sold. And if you have an important question, it's going to help inform you as a buyer. Plus, everybody else who's bidding on that book may want to know the answer and didn't think to ask that question. So it's very helpful.
Right? It is super important. And I think that's something that I think maybe people aren't accustomed to doing as often. But don't be afraid to ask the seller, like, what's that there? Or like, can you take it out of the bag? Can we look at the back? Or blatantly, like, are there any spine ticks on the book that you could see the brick color? You could be that blatant. You know what I mean? You only got a minute. Just be blatant. Ask the questions. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
In order to get the best experience, it's very important.
Absolutely. And another thing there too is, as on the seller side, don't be afraid to say I don't know. Like if somebody asks you, "Hey, who's the cover artist?"
Right.
You don't know. It's fine to say you don't know, but at least somebody else might chime in and say, "Oh, it's Stegman or whoever."
Right.
And that's going to help inform everybody in the chat, and might help somebody else that wants to bid on that book actually put that bid in too.
Exactly. Right. Because the more information, like, there are so many books that are like hot or night or hype or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Whatever's happening, you can't keep track of all of them. So someone's like, "What's this random issue of Catwoman #9? Like, why is this hot right now?" Like, well,
Yeah.
let me explain why this random issue of Catwoman. You know what I mean? So go into it, and you got to let people know why they should buy the book.
Exactly. And another thing that goes along with that too is when it comes to like overhyping or anything like that, people worry about that, and I can totally understand that. But it's okay to list, what is the Cliff's Notes version of this book? Like, why does it matter? Hey, it is the first appearance and cameo of this character. That's great. That's what people need to know about that book. Or you could say, hey, this is the first time that so and so's in costume. All those minor key reasons. That's something that's really good to include especially if you're not including it in the description of the item.
Correct.
So one of the pet peeves that I personally kind of encounter that irritates me is, let's say you are a seller and you have a book that goes for less than you'd hoped for. Let's say that you started it at $1 and it goes for $3, and it was a $15 or $20 FMV book.
Yeah.
I understand that's going to be frustrating, but what will probably get me to tune out of your auction if you do it more than once in an auction is, ooh, well, that goes for like $20 on eBay, but that's okay. That's okay. I personally don't enjoy that. And that for the very specific reason is, as a seller, you control the starting price. If you're a little uncomfortable selling a book for less than it's going to go for, keep that in mind when you start your starting price. It's okay to start a little bit higher starting price. They don't all have to start at $1. Especially if you only have, let's say you only have 10 or 12 people in your show.
Right.
Don't be afraid to start a little bit higher, because your pool of potential bidders is much smaller. If you have 200 people in your show, people are probably going to bid on a key. It's not going to go unsold.
Yes.
So kind of know your audience and know what you have going on, and don't
Yes.
take it out on your audience if you make a mistake.
You were exactly. Oh man, that's a good one. That is good, because I'm going back through my Rolodex. I'm just like, I think I've done that once or twice, or I've done that a couple times. I've definitely done that a couple times. Because
Everybody does from time to time. Like people are going to be frustrated if you see it, but I've done a lot of YouTube live auctions, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this book is, somebody got a great deal today. There's always a way to spin it.
There is, right? There's someone's like, congratulations, go make your profit. Take
Exactly.
that, go sell it, make a profit, call it a day. Everybody wins.
And the other thing you need to remember as a seller too is that that's something that's going to keep somebody coming back to your auctions later on. They're going to know, hey, I got a good deal here. It's just like going to an LCS and you pull out a key that's priced for half of what it's worth, and you buy. You're probably going to want to go back and hunt through those keys a little bit more.
Then they price it at the counter.
And then we burn the place down. It's fun.
And we move on to the next LCS. Will you price these at the counter? No. Okay, good.
Oh God, I love it.
That's very accurate. No, that's a great one. I'm trying to think of some pet peeves I have. I think one of them, yeah, like you're right. I guess I've known to. You know what? Oh man, it's crazy. I have a weird pet peeve.
Okay.
Sometimes I get mad when they start books out for like $15, $20. I'm like, oh, come on. Why start? Because like I'm a monster. I am always looking for a deal. I'm a savage. I know I have a charming cherub-like demeanor, but when it comes to comics and deals, I'm a monster. And I'm like the worst person. Like every time someone's like throwing up like a hot book, I'm like, start it at $1. Or like if it ends at like, let's say they listed it for 20 and no one bids, and I'm like, I'll take it for 15, and then put it up for like 15. I'm like, I'm the worst. I am the worst. But I guess that's one of my pet peeves, right? I get like, they started higher, but like I understand the amount of risk some people have to take, and it is very important to remember that not every single book that has ever been produced is made to sell on WhatNot. Some books just aren't made to be sell. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
some books just won't do well. Some will do great. Some will do average. But you got to remember, if you have a book that you think is valuable, do the homework, figure out what your best platform is to sell that book. for me, I've had great success with WhatNot with pretty much almost kind of every like weird dollar to like valuable book. So I've gotten lucky that way. But it's one of the things like if you only have like 10, 12 people, maybe don't put up your Darth Vader #3 and start at like $50. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you have to be willing to take a certain amount of risk in order to grow on WhatNot so people know to come back for that opportunity. If they tune into your very first show and there is no deals to be had, they may not come back. You know what I mean? It's like you
Yeah.
got to be willing to like feed the beast a little bit.
Yeah, there's a reason why loss leaders or doorbusters are a thing in sales and retail. It's definitely something that works. And I think, kind of hearing my tip, kind of hearing your tip, maybe the truth of the matter here is just be comfortable knowing what you could lose the book at if you want to look at it that way.
Yes.
But also, if you set the price too high, you're going to scare off any bidders because, like you said, why would I if I just want to pay an eBay price for this, why wouldn't I just run to eBay, or why wouldn't I just run to my LCS or whatever and buy the book for that price anyway?
Exactly.
And I think the other side of that too is if you have a book, like you mentioned, I think it's a great tip. Not every book is designed to sell on a WhatNot auction, maybe
Correct.
especially for the size of the channel you might be or the size of the seller you might be. But there's probably a different way you could package that book, like mystery blind bags or the raffles or those kinds of things.
Or lots.
That people do.
You do
lots,
runs.
Exactly.
Lots. You know what I mean?
Or it could be, maybe it's a huge giveaway that you want to do, or it's that kind of
right.
some kind of different way to kind of present it to people where they might be interested in it, and it might bring more attention to you as a seller.
Every comic you have in your arsenal, like use it as a tool to help you grow, right? You know what I mean? Like just like you said, where like, hey, maybe this is a great giveaway item. You know what I mean? Like whatever it does, like maybe attract people in, like do that. Sure, like throwing up $1 book that's worth $1 for $1 for a minute. It gets kind of old kind of quick. So maybe do like 3 books, 30 seconds, $3. What happens? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are ways to frame it for it to work, but you got to assess that risk and kind of go forward. But there are chances here's a crazy tip. There are some crazy deals to be had on WhatNot. You just got to be willing to like hunt around, look at the time, figure out who's selling, and like you can literally jump from stream to stream to stream. And you could have I could have a stream on my phone, I could have a stream on my MacBook, I could have a stream on my like other display. Like you can be watching 3 or 4 sales simultaneously. And I kid you not, I have gotten some dumb deals on WhatNot where I'm just like, did I just get that for that price? And I'm like, I did. All right, well, that's a thing.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing is, and as a seller, just be aware of that. For every time that you have a book go for a little bit too low, well, I mean, not for every time, but for a lot of times, you might have a book that goes for more than it would somewhere else on a different marketplace as well. And that's the beauty of it, is you time it correctly. And if you do your homework and you set up everything, you might have that book pop off and people just get in a bidding war and they really want it. And that can be very beneficial for you as well.
It's true. Very true.
So one other thing too that I thought was really cool that I wanted to talk about is I did see that you had a new Good Boy exclusive come out, your first exclusive cover, right?
I did. Yes, it is my very first. It's a shared WhatNot exclusive, and it was with me and I think it's 6 other sellers who had the opportunity to get in with WhatNot and SourcePoint Press to get, in essence, my logo on the back of a comic book. And just like in essence, each seller has their own versions, all the same cover, but the back has everyone's own like kind of individualized logo on the back.
So that's really awesome. Now, was that something I imagine WhatNot kind of approached you about whether or not you'd be interested in that?
They did. It was such a crazy moment where it happened, I think, back in November, where someone came, or like I knew WhatNot was having something, but they reached out to me, and I think it was kind of like last minute. Maybe someone dropped out, maybe another person. They're like, Skeff, would you be interested in getting your own exclusive? And I'm just like, oh man, I didn't even think about it. Then like there's like you have to pay upfront, and we would then send you your copies, which would all have your logo on the back. And I'm just like, I enjoy Good Boy, like Garrett and Gunn and Blanche, like, and it's like it's interesting because like I like Aaron Bartlett, like, everything about the book I enjoy it. You figured like for your first exclusive, it'd be like on some random book you've never heard of with some artist. You're just like, meh.
Right.
But to have that opportunity to be attached to something so epic, I'm just like, back then that was quite a lot. And now I'm like, oh, I would do that. I would do that every time. every time that happens, I would reach out. I'm like, yes.
Nice. Well, that is really cool. I'm really excited for you. I think that's one of those awesome things that we start seeing some comic book content creators end up being involved on that side of things. It's pretty cool.
It's humbling, mate. It is really. It's something that's not guaranteed, right? I've only been doing this for not even 2 years yet, and I've only really been selling. I mean, I've only been selling on Whatnot for like 6 months, and I've really only been selling comics seriously for like maybe a year, kind of, not even really. So it's one of the things where like I don't take it for granted, and I'm like, it's one of the things where like I'm not trying to like push a book on people just because like I'm another YouTube creator who has a book. I'm just honored with the opportunity to maybe get something out there that I enjoy in the hands that other people may like as well. Like if you enjoy what I do and you enjoy Good Boy, then like, hey, this is a win-win for you.
For sure, man. And every time I've been in one of your streams and you put up one of those books for different types of things, I see people really excited about it. So I think that's an awesome sign to see that people are engaging with that. That's really cool.
It is. Every single time I am always blown away by because I don't have any like memberships. I don't have like a Patreon. I have nothing like that set up. Maybe one day, but I don't have anything set up like that. So if anyone ever was like, Skeff, how could we support you? I mean, like that basically that's like a great way to do it.
Speaking of ways to support you, do you have anything coming up that you want to tell people about? Any kind of either big sales or any kind of other things that we need to know about as a community?
So for big sales coming up on Sunday, I'm going to have a massively fun, another like slab mystery sale Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on Whatnot. And then Monday, got a short little show at 8 p.m. Eastern if you can make it out for that one. Part of like that 612 con from Monday night. So they're going to be a lot of fun. But like I said, Sunday night at 9 and then Monday night at 8, both are Eastern times.
One thing as we kind of wrap up here, I just wanted to take an extra second to say thank you for being such an awesomely positive member of this community. It's one of the things that when I came to YouTube as a content creator, I was watching some of your videos and a lot of others too, of course. Yeah. But I loved your positivity. I loved what you brought to things. It's absolutely infectious. I'm sure you've heard things like that before, but at the same time, as a viewer, that's just really exciting. And you talked about creating that buzz earlier, creating that excitement, something you don't want to miss. It's absolutely something I feel when I watch your content, and it's infectious, and it kind of gets me excited too, which is, I think, the best possible outcome you could ask for. So I really appreciate that, man.
Nah, man, that means the world to me. It's one of the things where you just make some content and just see what happens, right? And if you could just kind of put a smile on somebody's face, then that's a win, right? It's a
Absolutely.
win. It's the small victories.
All right. So I feel like you had something you wanted to talk about for everybody watching today.
What? Wait, hold on a second. Boom, Mike Skeff. Do we have something? We have something. Boom, Mike Skeff, we have something. You have it? All right, give me that. Okay. So apparently we have a giveaway. We are going to be giving away a copy of one of my favorite series. It is Wind number 1, 9.8, the variant cover, pretty much all the first cover appearances of all the main characters of the series. So the giveaway is just as a thank you, guys. Please comment down below with maybe your favorite tip you learned today or any other questions you may have pertaining to Whatnot, and also to make sure you're subscribed to both Bronze Age and my YouTube channel, and we'll draw a winner from someone who comments down below and is a subscriber to both channels.
That is awesome. Thanks for doing that today, Skeff. I think that's going to be really cool for everybody watching today.
And just in case you didn't miss anything, you know what I mean? I love the questions. I love the communication. It's very important.
100%. Okay, well, hey, that's awesome. Thanks so much for joining the show today, Skeff. I want to thank everybody who watched today. I want to thank Skeff for coming on and dropping some knowledge for us. We got this dialogue going about Whatnot. If you had any questions about the platform, don't forget to leave those down below, or just let us know what tips you like so you can get entered in that giveaway. Make sure you subscribe to both of us for that as well. And we'll catch you in the next video or live on Whatnot.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having a good time.
Awesome. And as always, I want to remind you, hey, 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 hey. Read comics every day. Get my game face on here.
All right. Let's do this. Sorry, my wife just came downstairs.
We have fun here.
Give me a second. Love you, babe. Oh,
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks everybody for watching today. I just really want to thank Comic Man Andy for joining us today. That was really awesome.
Pinky's out.
Oh, we got a little Hans cameo there.
Right, a little Hans cameo in there.